Hi, welcome back to the channel. Been out for a ride on Interceptor today. Been really busy in the workshop this week, and I've been doing some off-road riding with the Himalayan. Got up this morning, to be honest, I'm absolutely knackered. Not as fit as I used to be. Now, let me just get sat down, just get myself a coffee sorted out. I thought I'd come out on the Interceptor today because since I bought it, I think I can count on one hand the amount of times I've used it. I initially bought it for me and Sue, so I could take Sue out. It's a bit bigger engine and we get along a bit quicker, and was planning on doing some big trips and things. But Sue doesn't dislike it, but it's not a favourite bike. Believe it or not, a favourite bike, as well as me actually, is the 500 Bullet. I absolutely love it. She absolutely loves it. We just done about a 900-kilometre trip to Romania, which is quite a trip. Wasn't all back roads, some main roads, which it handled perfect. Kept up with the flow of the traffic easy. With the Bullet, you can actually overtake lorries and stuff, so it's not a problem anyway. So, I like riding my Himalayan. The Interceptor's just been stood in the workshop, which isn't best because I haven't just bought the thing. So I'd ride out today, which has been very good. Absolutely love the engine on the Interceptor. But what it's got me thinking about is retro bikes. Are retro bikes too old-fashioned? No, I don't know what we think of them. But I think the retro or classic bikes, shall we say, I wouldn't say they're making a big comeback, because in my eyes, the classic bikes isn't what we ride nowadays, are they? The classic bikes is when I was a young lad, or just started riding, BSAs, proper BSAs, not a Chinese BSA or whatever it is, Indian, I'm not even sure. The 3-cylinder BSAs, 3-cylinder Triumphs, the Rocket 3s like, A65 Beezers, A10s, 650 Bonnevilles, 500 Triumphs twins. Those are the bikes in my day. Just those at the end of the era, but that's what people was riding. Crikey, even the post office used to deliver mail on a BSA Bantam. So it just shows how old I am. I'm well into my 60s now. But when somebody talks about a classic, to me, that's the bikes of those times. If you've got one of them now, that is a classic. Nowadays, they use that word classic for the modern bikes, don't they? Are they really classics? This is the question. But it throws up a lot of things, really. It's like if I talk to my mates, like when the BSA 650s just come out, the Gold Star. All of us was, that's not a proper BSA, is it? It's not even made by BSA. Don't look like a BSA Gold Star, They're just trying to sell that off the back of the name of a famous historic bike, really. That's marketing for you, isn't it? To me, the classics was mainly before the start of the Jap revolution. Once the Japanese bikes come in, it killed the British bike industry off, finished, gone. But nowadays, it's coming back. But the trouble is, it's not British anymore, is it? As much as people like to say Triumph's still British, still made at Hinkley. It's not made in Thailand. They do make some in England, but mostly in Thailand. It's all down to money, isn't it? But they're not British bikes anymore. But times have changed as well. There's the A2 classification for your licence, which is certain cc, certain horsepower. I think it's 48 horsepower. So no, not a cc, just the horsepower, if I believe right. So that's why the Interceptor over there just comes into that. And most of the Royal Enfields seem to stick to this, don't they? So it's giving them a bigger market for whatever bike they're making. I don't think the modern guys nowadays want, well, they certainly don't want what I call classics. In my day, I had one set of clothes to go to work in, which was the same set of clothes as I'd go out at night in and ride my bike, and I did everything. I was black, greasy, oily, holes in my knees on my jeans, and that wasn't a fashion item. That was mainly because I rode old bikes. You'd go out for a ride, you'd have a great bag of spanners and points and condensers and God knows whatever else you needed to fix your bike, because if you did a 100-mile ride and got home without stopping, that was a positive, I tell you, because the reason you got holes in the knees on your jeans, because you'd be on your hands and knees at the side of the road fixing it, and that's no joke. That is the truth. You'd have a massive oil leak or something that broke, you'd cut out, but it's the way you knew to know your bike inside out, because if you didn't know your bike inside out, you weren't going to get home. There was no breakdown recovery or nothing in them days. It was ring your mate to come with a van, or ring your mate to come in a van. That was only if he was inside of a telephone box, no mobiles. So to me, them days, them bikes are classics to me, but the modern day rider don't want that sort of bike, does he? He wants a modern bike that looks like a classic, that's reliable, got modern features, ABS, rider modes, TFT, USB ports for your phone and whatever else you want to plug in. That's what they want nowadays. But I think a lot of people have gone off your big 1000cc bikes. Too big, too fast. You can't ride them to their full potential. It's nice to own one. It's a bit like owning a Porsche, I suppose, isn't it? You know, Porsche do 170, 180 miles an hour, but you can still own a Porsche and drive slowly, which I think, in actual fact, you would find easier to drive that slowly and keep to the speed limits than you would do riding a GSX R1000 or an R1, because you just feel once you've been on a big bike like that, you slow down to village speed limits, you could jump off and run faster. That's the feeling it gives you. So I think a lot of guys have had enough of that. Plus, people's getting older. Plus, another thing is, the youth of today aren't going to ride bikes. They don't ride bikes like we did. It wasn't just because you liked bikes, it was your only form of transport, because no way could you afford a car. You couldn't afford to run it, you couldn't afford to buy it. If you could, it was a heap of junk. So that's why he had motorbikes. He didn't have cars until he got on a little bit. Nowadays, the lads can stick the car insurance on the mother's policy. Away they go, and they're running around in hyped up, hopped up, and God knows what. I'm not really up on cars, to be honest. But the other thing is, my wife's grandson, he's 18, he's just bought his first bike. I think he's just passed his test. It's only a 125 he's got. His insurance, I think the bike was about £1,000 or just short of. His insurance is £2,000, which just doesn't make any sense to me. You know, the young lads just can't afford that. Obviously, his mother doesn't have a bike licence, so he can't stick it on her insurance, can he? So that's one of the things why the young lads today don't have bikes, or why some that do got no insurance. It's not the way to do things, but that's just what happens, isn't it? The insurance companies, I don't know whether it's just the insurance companies or the government, something is making it so people don't ride bikes. To pass your test, I can remember when I took my test, I just rode round the outside of the prison at Lincoln, where I used to live. And the test bloke was stood on the side of the road with his board in his hand. He'd step out into the road when you were still like 50 metres away to do emergency stop. Answer a few questions out of the highway code, yeah, you passed. With that, he was tearing the L plates off, chucking them in the gutter, riding home with a full licence. Nowadays, it's got to be 6 months, maybe a year to take your test. I think you can do these special courses to get through in one go, but it's all very expensive, whichever way you look at it. So the youth of today aren't riding bikes, and it's killing the bikes in a lot of countries now. As us older ones disappear, which we will, can't all live forever, biking will die out, I reckon. What it's doing, there's born again bikers. I don't like to use that word. People that's had bikes when they was younger, got married, sold them, got families, mortgages, Time's moved on. They're in the late 40s, 50s, 60s, buy bikes again. They don't want a big bike. They want something that's small, they feel safe on. They probably had to persuade the wife what they can buy is safe to have, which wouldn't be a GSXR 1000 or an R1, would it? Want to take the wife out on it, which again won't be a GSXR 1000 or an R1, will it? So things like the Royal Enfield come to light. The 350 range, that seems to be so popular nowadays, but that's got the word classic on it, or they use the word retro. Now, to me, retro bikes was from the 70s. If you're going to redo something, you can call it retro. It's got to be a 70s bike, maybe a Honda. I think Honda's bringing some bikes back. Yamaha, people are copying them, copying the old 70s bikes. That's a retro, but a classic is 50s, 60s, up to the 70s. They're using these names because you put classic on it, like the Royal Enfield 350 Classic. Is it a classic? It's a brand new bike, so how can it be a classic? So are you using the name as the model? 350 Classic? Yeah, I suppose you are, aren't you? Royal Enfield 350 Classic. So that model is called a classic. But a classic is also a bike of my time. But it looks like a bike from my time. It's a modern bike. Your new riders don't want to be on their hands and knees every time they go out. They don't want to come in home with the kneecaps poking out the jeans because they've been on the side of the road fixing the bike. They want reliability. And not only do they want reliability, they want modern things on the bikes, the TFTs and everything else. They want it to do good miles to the gallon, no breakdowns. They want an enjoyable ride. That's what they're making now. But there's not many manufacturers can get it right, can't get the look for what they're calling the bike. Royal Enfield have, but I think it's going to come to an end for Royal Enfield. The air-cooled 350 range, same as the Interceptor, the air-cooled 650 Twin, is coming to an end because of the regulation laws on emissions. These are the last of the air-cooled, I believe. It's going to be water-cooled. And we've already seen the mess that people's making bikes and sticking the name on still. Even Royal Enfield. I mean, look at the new 452 range. I hope they never put classic on them, on that engine. It ain't classic. The BSA 650. First off, it's not BSA, is it? It's some company that's just bought the BSA name. No, it's theirs. They can do as they like, but it's not a BSA, is it? It's nothing to do with BSA. And they built the BSA 650 and called it the Gold Star. Does it look like a Gold Star? No, definitely not. Not in my eyes. Is it retro-y? Yes, it's a retro-y looking bike. If you just stand it where my Interceptor is, it looks not too bad. Now walk over to it and stand and look at it. They've just got it totally wrong. I think the engine, it's built by Rotax. That engine looked nothing like a Gold Star engine. I know it's water cooled, it's overhead cam, it's a totally different design engine, but they haven't put a lot of thought in it, have they? I mean, as you sit on the bike, I think it's the left hand side casings are flat. It makes the engine look like it's come out of a concrete mixer. The right hand side, which is the side you want to look at, it's got what used to be the push rod tubes going on. I'm not sure if that piece is even aluminium, is it? I think that you can get an aluminium polished unit, but you have to pay more for that. I'm not even sure if it's plastic or not. Same with the badges and bits and bobs on it. I know you have to pay extra to get the shiny bits, but even with the nice shiny bits on, still don't look right, does it? I know it's water cooled, but it could have been done with fins, couldn't it? Nice, shaped barrel, made it look nice. Makes me wonder whether the engine was actually designed to put in that bike, or it's an engine that's used for other things that were sort of slightly modified to fit in that frame. That's what it looks like to me. But people love them, don't they? Not everybody, but it's a nice looking bike, let down with the engine. Now, the biggest thing nowadays, including Royal Enfield, everything's built to a budget. That's the way they're getting their bikes in because they're cheaper than the Japanese. The Japanese can't build retro-y classic looking bikes nowadays. No, I'm wrong. There's the two bikes I think that are built that look, no, three I can think of, that look absolutely classic. If you want to call them classic, retro, drop them in that thing, is not the Interceptor, the Intercontinental 650. That's a nice looking bike. But the last beautiful looking engine, well, there's two of those actually. The 500 Bullet, it's timeless. It looks stunning. It's, if the wife would let me, I'd have a Bullet all polished up, put in the hallway of our house. It ain't going to happen, believe me, but I would. I think it's a piece of art, that bike. Absolutely. Engine is absolutely fantastically looking. Now, the other engine is Japanese, actually, Kawasaki W800. What a piece of art that engine is. So that just proves that the Japanese, if they put their mind to it, can make something that's stunning. Now, the W800 is a nice bike. If you want, you can drop that in this between the classic and retro bike. It's a bit of a mix. That bike fits in there. I put the 500 Bullet, but they've stopped making that, in there. The GT Continental Royal Enfield, that'll fit in there. Now, there is one more bike that I think shocked me, but when I first saw it, I thought they've copied a Royal Enfield 350, these have. That's Honda's CB350. Now, I'm not sure why they made it, whether they was dipping the toes into this classic small CC look, but that bike's selling like hotcakes. I think even Honda would be shocked how well it's done. But it is a good looking bike for a modern Japanese bike. There isn't many that the Japs have made it really looks like that. But for me, that's what they should be doing. If they want to get into this class, which seems to be doing well, because it fits people my age who want a modern bike. Older people, it's just passed the test, they want that. People who's come off fast bikes have had enough on it now. They want something to ride, enjoy the scenery. They like these classics. Even the ADV lads, big GSs and all that. I've got a Royal Enfield Himalayan 411. To me, that's classic. Not everybody says it's classic, but it's classic. Classic looks. That bike is timeless. 10 years' time, people still going to be hankering after and riding them. The new 452 Himalayan, it could be anything. If you took all the stickers off and stuck Suzuki on that, I wouldn't argue with you. It could just be anything. It's lost its classic look to me, but that's the way they've gone. Some people are liking it. I wouldn't be selling them, would they? I think for me now, I'm 66 next birthday. I should be riding as long as I can. Just started using my Himalayan, going to start going more off-road with it. Because I like riding off-road, but it's going to keep me fitter. That's like this morning. I got out of bed, but I didn't move very fast, believe me. I've had 2 days on it now. Don't lose your skill. Skill's still there, just the body objecting. But going back to the classic thing, that's all I want to ride now. Why I made this video today was because I come out on the Interceptor. Yes, I think that Interceptor can drop into between your classic and retro, but I don't think, not for somebody like me anyway. It's a well-liked bike. It's fast enough. The engine's superb in it. The rest of it's just a bike, really. They haven't got it right. Not on the Interceptor. The GT Continental looks better. Just doesn't look right. So it left me thinking, what am I going to do with this, really? Yes, I've enjoyed riding it. I can't say I'm going to be out next week on it, or next weekend, or a couple of times this next week. I'll probably take the Himalayan. I used to ride the Bullet anywhere I wanted to go. There's a Bullet I jumped on, but now Sue's sort of designated it as our two-up go-to bike. To keep it immaculate like I like to, it's all polished up again, and probably won't be used until she wants to go out, and we'll go out two-up on that. Crikey, just invested in a set of expensive Hagen rear shocks for it, fully adjustable. preload and damping. Got damping on it, but they look the part, and it'll make it better, because that was the only thing we found in Romania. As the rear shock's heated up, it started to get a bit bouncy. No, so it's going to be top notch by the time it's finished. So that leaves me with a Himalayan and the Interceptor. Well, I've only just bought it. I don't want it just sitting in the workshop like the Honda NC750X was. I think what I'm going to do to it, as it is at the minute, when I turn the lights off in the workshop and I shut the door, it isn't the Interceptor is my last glance. It's not. It's the Bullet. Or maybe even the Himalayan, but it's certainly in the Interceptor, as nice as that bike is. So I think it's going to be a project over the winter. I'm not going to turn it into a Bullet lookalike, because there's only the Bullet 500 can look like the Bullet 500, believe me. I don't think I'm going to even incorporate the mud guards or stuff like the Bullet to make it look like that. I want it to look more classic or proper retro, if you want to call it that. A modern, I'm using this word now, a modern classic retro bike. This winter that's going to go in for some big changes. Replace the tank, the seats, the exhausts, maybe the clocks. Depends how much grief I get off the wife for how much money we spend, because we all know modifying bikes isn't cheap, is it? But by the time I'm done, I want that to be looking a bit more, in a way, I could say, the American 650 Bonneville years, or when they did an American 750 Bonneville with pear-shaped tank on it. That sort of style, high, wide bars. Well, I put them on already, the bars. I really like it. But a bit more style, but a bit more retro-y, not square indicators, square lights, great big dustbin thing with a headlight on it, but keeping it looking sweet. I did think about a scrambler conversion, but there's quite a lot of them done. Plus the other problem is I had a Triumph Street Scrambler 900. Looks apart, lovely bike, used to love it. On the road it was great, off-road absolutely fucking rubbish, because it's just a road bike. There's no point in turning this into a scrambler. I'm not a person to go to coffee shops dressed retro-y and all this lark. Then, you can be into that thing, and then your bike looks right. Because I know if I had knobbly tyres or off-road tyres on that, done in a scrambler, I'd be off-road with it. And it ain't going to be no off-road bike, especially when I got the Himalayan anyway. So I think we're going to go with a classic, slightly American, retro bike. Maybe it could be the thing that Royal Enfield should have done. I know they are bringing a Bullet 650 out, but I don't think it's going to look right. It'll look fake. That's the trouble with the 650 engine. They are bringing a scrambler out. The scrambler will be a scrambler. It'll look like whatever they want it to look like. So there's no point in me making something that Royal Enfield's making. I think they are bringing, like a classic-y one out, but it ain't going to look like what I want. Yeah, so I think that's going to go for a lot of modifications this winter. All depends how far I go on how much money the wife's going to let me spend. Because in my workshop it's priceless now, believe me. So it's probably a good thing today. I'm knackered physically. Nice steady ride I've had in the mountains, twisty roads and everything like here. Sat up, I don't know if you can see this. Absolutely beautiful up here, look. Gorgeous. So, give me time to think. Soon be autumn, soon be winter, and I shall need a project for this winter anyway. Can't stand myself in the house with the wife all the time. So that's what we're going to do. So it could be interesting. Obviously, I will film it. Whether I film it as I go along, that's up to you. You say if you want me to do that, or I just build it and show you on a video when it's finished. That is also up to you. So anyway, I'm rambling on a bit here. I've finished my coffee, it's nearly cold. Hope you enjoyed this. Bit of a ramble again. So, big thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. I keep saying it, you must get absolutely sick of me on about this. But like I say, it does cost me to do this channel, and it does come expensive actually. Keep spending more money on YouTube. It's less parts for bikes, isn't it? So please subscribe. It's free to you. And any comments, leave them down below. You always do. I always help if you need to know anything. And I'll see you in the next video again then. Cheers.